You're live with Alvin After Dark, brought to you by BMW Freeport, located at 291 West Sunrise Highway in Freeport, New York. Please visit their service department, located at 100 Cleveland Avenue in Freeport, New York. And you can visit myself at the showroom at 516-740-6132. Good evening, good evening, good evening. You know, I had a great show lined up for you this evening about fashion, relationship, and entertainment. But with the recent tragedy of yesterday's events, I want to change it up a little bit. And I know I told some people on social media to call in, but just give me a few minutes before you decide to start calling in. I just want to say a couple things and just mention a few things to you. One of the first things I definitely want to show is the video. So, LA, please play that video, please.
I think he may have just been tasered.
Shots fired!
Ooh.
321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect down. We need to end here.
I need to get this.
He's got his hands up there for her now. Mike, I'm going to hit the recorder. This guy's still walking and following commands.
Not for taser, I think.
Now, this video has been circulating all over social media, and I said that I wasn't too sure what happened. Like everyone else doesn't know what happened, and from reading the details, he was coming from school, community college in Oklahoma, and his car stalled, and that's all we know. We know that he was killed by a police officer, and I guess my question is, when is enough going to be enough? And people are getting at Colin Kaepernick for making the statement he made, and this is what he's talking about. And people aren't realizing the issues are much deeper than him taking a knee, and it's deeply rooted in American history. This is deeply rooted. It's sad. And I want to share some information with everyone this evening. And the information that I would love to share with you is about, not in 2016, but police have killed at least 102 unarmed black people in 2015, nearly twice each week. Nearly 1 in 3 black people killed by police in 2015 were identified as unarmed, though the actual number is incorrect because it's highly due to unreporting. 37% of unarmed people killed by police were black in 2015, despite black people being 13% of the United States population. Unarmed black people were killed at a 5 times the rate of unarmed whites in 2015. Now, I want to share something else with you. Since Colin Kaepernick's protests, at least 15 black people have died during the encounters with the police since the San Francisco 49ers quarterback started protesting. That's crazy. And I have a lot of information here this evening, so viewers and callers and listeners, definitely call in, share your thoughts, share your views, but I'm also going to share with you within the next 10 to 15 minutes the names and location of the people that have been killed who were unarmed in 2015. I didn't get a chance to collect the list for 2016 because it's still going on. But I found information on Huffman Post about the people that were actually killed. And this is mapping out police violence in 2015. So you need to take action. Actually, I'm going to play another video. And people always say, why should I vote? And the next video is President Barack Obama.
My name may not be on the ballot, but our progress is on the ballot. Tolerance is on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot.
You're live with Alvin After Dark. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Alvin? How you doing, man? It's Tim.
Hey, Tim, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Do me a favor. Turn down your computer in the background.
Got it.
Got it. What's your thoughts, your views, your opinions for this evening?
Brother, first of all, I feel like we just keep replaying the same old thing over and over again. Brother Marcus Garvey.
Yeah.
Drafted the Negro Declaration back in the 1920s. And it basically outlines the same things that we are asking for today, which to me is a problem. We're asking. We're still asking for equality. We're still asking. I think asking is over, bro. I think as black men and black people in this country, the writing's been on the wall. We need to educate each other, whether it be by homeschool or by some system that works for us, by us.
Hold on one second, bro. I'm gonna add a call to us.
Yeah, you got it.
Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Gary from Brooklyn.
What's going on, bro? Listen, we on a phone right now with two brothers right now. And Gary, before you start talking, Tim is gonna finish speaking up. Go ahead.
Yeah. How you doing, Gary? This is Tim.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Hey, I just wanted to finish up after the education, making sure that we get our education straight, outlining a good plan of support where we support each other and buy black. And as long as we stick together, I mean, time and time again, if you do your history and your research, no culture that sticks together is moved by the masses. You stay strong, you stay focused, you stay together. Right now, we're too separate and too apart on these issues. I can go on, but I'll let some of the other brothers speak. Gary, you got something to add to this?
Hey, Gary, before you talk, do me a favor, Gary. Just turn down your computer or your radio in the background.
Okay. All right, brother. Sorry about that.
Time and time again, if you do your history and your research.
All right.
All right, go ahead, Gary. Please share your thoughts, your views, please.
All right, how you doing, brother? Good to see you doing good work here, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
My 2 cents on the situation is this: we have to educate ourselves on what we need to do to survive these encounters. Because, in my view, as you mentioned, the stats that you mentioned, the issue is systemic. But that being said, we need to educate ourselves on how to survive the encounter. Now, when I looked at that video for a few moments that I did look at it, the issue that I have is the brother who was walking towards the car, and it looked like that he was getting ready to open the door because the lights looked like they came on in the car. The bottom line is you want to survive the encounter. You want to get down on the ground. You want to make sure that you are compliant with what they say because you want to get home to your children and your family. Now, a lot of people get upset because your rights are being violated. Yes, more than likely your rights may have been violated by some of the questions and answers and things that they say and do. But that is not the place and time for you to combat or to fight that, in my view. I'll just give an example of my family. We recently started this maybe 2 or 3 years ago in my family reunion. We get a police officer, a local police officer, a state trooper, to come in to speak to the young people and to speak to the fathers, the mothers, aunts, and uncles to let them know what the mindset of the officers are so you can what? Survive the encounter. So that is what my piece of it is with my family, what we do. We have people come in, we have law enforcement in our family, and we have people who are friends or close friends of us who are in law enforcement. And they come in and they tell us, listen, this is what you need to let your family know, your young people know, young Latinos and blacks and people of minority descent, what you need to do to survive the encounters. Because I think that's where we, with all the things that's happening, and a lot of these situations aren't even anybody's fault, in the sense of the victims. But if the victims understood that just to survive the encounter, then you got 3 or 4 police officers, or even 1 police officer with a gun or even a taser, you're not winning that battle.
No, you're
not winning that battle.
You're definitely not.
That's just the way that's what I feel right now. You being a military person, you being a military person, you understand that, hey, you know, sometimes when you're being ambushed, that's one thing. You know, you got to go and attack the ambush as best you can. But when you have no wins, you know, your best, the thing is not to get into that type of conversation, but just to be able to survive the encounter in order for you to be able to get to your family.
You know, I definitely agree with both you brothers, and it's a shame that, you know, we as men of color, people of color, family of color, that we have to have a script, that when the police officer stops us, that we have to have a script. Whether it's walking, whether it's being stopped in public areas, whether it's, and especially being when you're pulled over. Now, for people who are listening, and you know, here's a script what you need to do, and this is me being a military man. What I do if I ever get pulled over, especially if it's nighttime, what I immediately do, I took down all the windows. All the windows go down. I put on the lights in the car. I turn off the car, and the key, even though in my car there's no key fob, there's no key in the ignition, but that key goes on the dashboard, and both of my hands go on the steering wheel. And people, what that does and what it does, it reduces the threat level of the officer who is stopping you. That's what it does. Unfortunately, that's what we have to do, and and those are the things that we have to teach our men and women of color. And you're right. You know, we cannot stand there or sit there and argue with the person. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. But in this event, once again, like you just said, this is the same story over and over, just with a different cast. And it's heartbreaking. It's hurtful. And like, you know, D.L. Hughley has been on social media all day saying, for everyone that complained about Colin Kaepernick, all those people that said, especially people of color, and that's who he meant. He meant people of color who complained about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee for the national anthem during the beginning of the football game. Where are these voices now? What do they have to say? And they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Brother, may I add something to the conversation?
Of course, please.
In listening to both of you brothers articulate, you know, the importance of surviving the encounter, I can't help but to, like, I'm trying to remain calm. Like, it's making my blood boil that we have 50 million and one rules on how to behave when the actual situation has nothing to do with us.
You're right.
It really has nothing to do with us. This is a systemic problem that has been carried over from slavery. First slavery, then Jim Crow, and then this craziness that's going on today where it seems like it's open season. Not seems like, it's open season on any black male first, and then the black females. And the more I study history, the more I research all of these issues, everything that we're looking at right now is a symptom or a result of something else.
Yes,
we need to address the core, not put Band-Aids on all these cuts and these open wounds. The core of the issue is the racism that exists. And the only way to battle racism is if we stick together. We have to stick together. That is first and foremost. And there's only one other group in history that I can look at that we can all identify with right now and understand their history, and that is the Jewish. The Jewish culture was almost annihilated by Hitler, and until they got to small numbers to stick together. And once they stuck together, they rewrote their own history. And right now, today, they're one of the biggest political powers in our country, if not the world, because they decided to stick together and practice group economics. We, as a people, are the largest consumers to the tune of $1.5 trillion.
Yes, we are.
To harness that money and redirect it back to us, I think would shake the world. Not I think, I know it would. If you just do the economic projections out a few years, 1.5 trillion, not in the economy where they want it, it's where we want it. That changes things.
Money speaks volume.
Yes, it does. And talking about the NFL, they're upset because Colin Kaepernick decided to make a statement to get the conversation going. The conversation is going now.
That's right.
But they're still killing us. The conversation would go a lot further if the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball, every black player, every Latin player, just stop playing.
And
just stop.
And speaking,
just don't play.
And speaking about money, I'm gonna read you something real quick, brothers. It says, "Did you know until 2009? As a matter of fact, until 2009, no NFL players stood for the national anthem. No NFL players stood for the national anthem until 2009. Before then, the players stayed in the locker room as the anthem played. NFL teams got patriotic in recent years because it was good for business. A 2015 congressional report revealed that the Department of Defense had paid $5.4 million to the NFL teams between 2011 and 2015. The stage on the field patriotic ceremonies. The National Guard shelled out $6.7 million for similar displays between 2013 and 2015, which we all know is called paid patriotism. Last May, the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, returned more than $700,000 of taxpayers' money that was to teams for sponsored military tributes, according to Darren Rovell of ESPN. So isn't that crazy? So, and most people don't even realize that before 2009, no NFL team was on the field during the national anthem. They were in the locker room. And I'm going to read you something else briefly. I'm going to read you something else, and I believe this is from the NFL. Hold on, I have it right here. Oh, got it right here. All right. In 1943, the United States Supreme Court ruled in West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett that the government officials cannot force anyone to participate in patriotic rituals, including the Pledge of Allegiance. No public school employee, no teacher, vice principal, coach, or superintendent can legally force you to say the pledge or stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or national anthem. They also cannot punish you for refusing to participate. You do not have to stand for the pledge or the national anthem. And that was in 1943. So once again, it's paid patriotism. I'm happy to have these two brothers on the phone because I have so much information. Believe it or not, because like I said before, my show was going to be something totally different, and it went left field once I saw the events from yesterday that happened, and it broke my heart because it's a 40-year-old man who was coming home from school, and his car was stopped. He had his car turned over, and it's just amazing. And the white officer's name is Betty Shelby, and she's placed on administrative leave until the department investigates the case. So once again, it's like he said, like Tim said, it's the same story, just different characters.
But Tim, I totally, if I can make a justice here, Tim, you're totally correct. In terms of an economic base, if we were to, as a people, turn or try to get an economical foothold of our own, like we had when we were growing up in the 60s and 70s, which was basically destroyed and taken away when all these different programs and things and in our communities and things that we did in our communities that allowed us to, instead of the money being taken out of our communities, recirculating that money in our communities. we have to understand the historical standpoint of all this, going back to the beginning of slavery, where we were considered what I think a 2/3 of a man or 1/3 of a man, if I'm not mistaken. So the system was never built in to have us be a part of it in the way that is projected. It's not a democracy we live in. We're a republic disguised as a democracy. Okay? So now when you have situations like that, you don't have people necessarily being free. You have people in another position that allows them to do certain things, but then has restrictions upon those things what they do. Freedom is one thing, being liberated is another. So when you have those two distinctions, and black people are not necessarily free, we're just liberated, but we have liberation gives us constraints, and constraints on things that we can and cannot do. Back when, if I'm not mistaken, from a historical standpoint, the New Deal that FDR signed back in the 30s to get the South to come out of depression wasn't focused on necessarily. It wasn't focused on black people. It was focused on the GIs who came back and from the wars to get them started with a job, or if they lost jobs. Okay. Now, those jobs, those people who were eligible for those things, I'll tell you who was not eligible. People who were agricultural workers and people who worked in domesticated situations, which is the housekeepers and or farmers. And back during that period of time, who was mostly doing that? Black folk. So they were ineligible for the type of information and the type of social government funds that would allow them to jumpstart their lives. So this is not just the things that are happening are just, in my view, things that are already set within the government that have already been instituted over a period of time, and they continue to make those adjustments institutionally in order to put certain people in a certain area and put others in another certain area. So going back to my original point was, being that we understand if we can understand what that is as a people, and we can move forward past that, understanding the system is written against us and how to work in a constructive way to get around those things. At the same time, we have to live today. At the same time today, we have to survive the situation. Exactly what you said, Brother Al. Exactly what you said. I do the same thing. Take out the key, put the car on the desk, let the windows down, put your arms, and turn the inside lights on. Of course, should we have to do that? No.
No.
But the consequences for that, not doing that, for me not to be able to make it back to my family, that's not a risk that I'm willing to take.
Yeah.
In the meantime, this is what we have to do to survive that, and then we can put into some understanding through education of all of us who are out there. A lot of us act very quickly, get very angry, and think from a physical standpoint. Trust me, I've had to learn on my own accord. But a lot of us do that, not understanding other ways that we can articulate ourselves if we have understanding of being able to talk our way and intelligently understand what our rights are in the situation.
I think that and what Tim was saying was, we have to now, enough is enough, and that's what Tim was saying. Enough is enough, and we need to be able to come together collectively and make some things happen. What do you want to say, LA?
Well, you know what? There's somebody in the chat room, Mika, who just said there was actually another killing today. Keith Lamont Scott waiting for his son to get in the bus, and I just looked it up, and this is kind of interesting here because I'm going to read the story real quick, but this just happened today. Police in Charlotte, North Carolina on Tuesday fatally shot a black man they said was armed as they searched for someone else, sparking protests that injured an officer. Witnesses said the man who was killed, Keith Lamont Scott, was unarmed and had a disability. The shooting, the 6th Charlotte, Mecklenburg police killing of a civilian in last year happened just before 4 p.m. in an apartment complex roughly a mile from the University of North Carolina.
Wow.
Department officers were searching at the complex for someone else who was wanted on an outstanding arrest. During the search, officers said they saw a man exit a vehicle with a firearm, then got back inside. When the police approached the man, he got out of the vehicle again and posed an imminent deadly threat to the officers, who was subsequently fired their weapons, striking the suspect. Police called a medic. Scott died, 43, at the hospital. Police identified the shooter as Officer Brentley Vinson, who is black.
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly enough, I mean, I know this is definitely a white-black thing, but this has gone beyond that, because this is a police officer thing. These police officers are not being trained correctly. They are jumping the gun, so to speak.
Yes,
I
they
hate
are.
to use it, but they are obviously not properly trained, because some of these shootings are by black officers too.
Yes, they are.
And this has got to be really, really looked into as how the police are training these officers, because they are shooting way too fast for some reason.
They are, and it's funny. I was actually going to mention
they want to go home too, man. They're all, in all fairness, they want to go home too.
Yeah.
So.
And what happens is, I think that, and one of the things I put in my post on Facebook today was that police across the United States of America needs to be properly trained.
Definitely.
They're not even trained. They're not trained to handle the people in the community that they're supposed to protect and serve. So they need to have, I think personally, that the police officers who are in the community need to be a part of that community, or some way, somehow, because there's so much of it. And whether the officer is black or white, if I'm a black man who's raised in the suburbs, I have no clue or connection to a young black man who's raised in the hood. I have no clue. I don't know what his challenges were growing up, because I've never been in that position. So that's a challenge with these police officers. You have these police officers who have no connection with the community that they're supposed to protect and serve. They don't when they walk by, they don't say good morning, sir. Good morning, how you doing, Mr. Jenkins? Hey, Miss Brown, how you doing? Those are the police officers you need in the community to make sure that the community is being taken care of. And then you're going to have a community that's also with the police department, that's going to be able to help the police department when things happen. I think there's an arrogance and a power trip that these guys get on, because I have a few friends, Jamaica Queens, black, and they told me that they're actually more scared of the black officers than the white officers. I've heard that too.
And like, how, these guys, and these are guys who actually came from the same community.
That's right.
But as soon as they get a gun and a badge, they automatically think that they're better than everyone else. And just weird, just say this real quick, has nothing to do with nothing, but I went with a girl a few months back to the police station, and we walk in, and the police counter is literally 3 feet higher than where you're standing as a civilian.
That's right.
And you're looking up
at them.
You're looking like tremendously up at the officers, trying to communicate with them,
and they're looking
down at you.
That's right.
And I said to myself, I said, wow, isn't that interesting? You know what I'm saying? Like, right off the bat, they're setting the tone that they are above you. And I think this is the whole sociology of the police department.
That's right.
I think it really needs to get looked into seriously.
May I interject?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm listening to everything, and no matter where I go, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, our news that we share, I hear and I'm listening to the same things. These are symptoms. These are the results of a deeper problem. And if we don't address the core, we have put Band-Aids on, and we have chased the results and the symptoms forever and a day. The first person I know that tried to address the core of the issue was assassinated, and that was Malcolm X, when he made a charge against the United States to take him to the UN for human rights violations for neglecting and killing us. And we're still in the same place. We're still in the same place arguing about the symptoms and what to do about to put Band-Aids on this. No, if you don't cut the head off the snake keeps going.
That's right.
You have to address the core, and we have all the answers. We have all the answers. As a culture, as a people, we have everything we need. How many of you know a gazillion teachers? We have teachers. We have principals. We have superintendents in our culture. We have officers. All we have to do is stick together and follow the plan. The economic plan, Dr. Claude Anderson has been preaching the economic plan forever. He talks about how we can get together, pool our money, and make it happen. All we have to do is listen to him and come together.
That's right.
Dr. Joy DeGruy, she has spent 10 years educating us on the systematic brainwashing from slavery and how it's affected each and every one of us, and that it's not just some myth. She's actually proven from all the way back then all the different results that have happened. So all I'm saying is, for all of us to get the word out, we have entertainers, we have professional sports athletes, we have professionals, CEOs in all types of business. How the hell are we, and excuse me for using that language, how are we supposed to continue to perform for a country that allows us to be killed daily?
Hold on one
to
second.
just be assassinated like it's okay with no recourse.
Hold on, Gary.
Why are you going to still work for someone? Why are you going to still play for a country like that? Withdraw all of our support, all of our money, and demand that this stop.
Caller, you're on the air live with Alvin After Dark. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller, you there?
Oh, this is Tim.
Tim and Gary's there. I add another call to the.
I'm here.
I add another call. I think they. I don't know if they are. Are you there, caller? They hung up. Well, caller, if you're there, definitely call us back. I'm gonna add you on the call so we'll all be on together. But you're definitely right, and I agree with it's they call him back. Hold on one second, Gary and Tim. Caller, you're live with Alvin After Dark. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mika.
Hey, Mika, how you doing?
Come from Long Island.
What's your thoughts? What's your opinion, please?
So, I'm hearing everybody, and I understand everything, what everyone is saying, being prepared, and the different issues. But my thing is that, are you hearing me?
I hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. My thing is that we have to stick together, is what the previous caller said. But you guys aren't getting to the issue of why we don't stick together. If you look at Chinese culture will bring their own into this country. They have their own communities. They look out for each other. They find each other a job. They do everything for each other. They'll put a business in a black community, but they will not bank in a black community. They'll take their money back and bank with their own bank. I went to a grocery store that opened recently, just the other day, a Chinese grocery store. And that place was full of every Chinese person. I've never seen so many Chinese people in Long Island in one spot before. That's because they support each other. Black people don't support each other. They get their money, and they feel like they need to run and go be like the Joneses. They got to be like the white folk. They got to be like, what I'm saying? Like, they feel like once they make it, it's all about them. And even the ones who haven't made it, even the ones who don't have money, it's all about themselves. And it's about trying to figure out how we can come together and have everyone do for each other, not just for them. Because as long as people are looking out for themselves, this is always going to happen. We don't have people in the right positions to make a difference. We don't have people in the right positions to say, listen, we don't have people who own these things. Okay, great. Jay-Z owns something. But they don't really own anything. The people who really own stuff are the people who control what happens in politics. We don't have anybody who's really going to control what happens in politics for us. We have our president, but that doesn't mean anything. He can't just do anything. We need people who own. The people who own things are the people who control things, and we don't own anything. And that's the problem. We don't come together. We don't pull our money together. We don't stick together as a community so that we can do for each other what we need to do for each other.
And I agree with you 100%. And I was telling, and I mentioned that before. I said we need to put people in the position of power who's supposed to be there. So when these things happen, they're going to happen, and they're going to happen and stop immediately. And that's what other cultures do.
But a lot of people don't understand that we're in this situation by design. This is not because black people just hate each other.
That's true.
It is not. That's why I recommended the book by Dr. Joy DeGruy, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. She makes you understand how this became. This is not just haphazard. This is a diabolical plan from the slave masters and their think tanks how they developed the divide and conquer, how they understood to put the house slave against the field slave, how they played us and used these things to ingrain in us to not be together. So the easiest way is to check out Dr. Joy DeGruy either online or pick up her book. It will explain so much to all of us. And once you understand what is happening to you, then you can come up with a remedy to combat it and to overcome it. But if you don't understand why we are the way we are, it's just like throwing sand into the wind. It doesn't do anything. Once you understand what the problem is, why it's there, now we can develop viable solutions to overcome it. And we have everything we need in this country. We just have to connect the dots on our own. We don't need anyone else. We're good.
Definitely agree. Callers, hold on for 1 second. Stand by. L.A., is it possible to play that Barack Obama video with them on the line?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to hear it, though.
That's okay.
All right.
Stand by, callers. We're going to play a video real quick, okay? Stand by.
My name may not be on the ballot, but our progress is on the ballot. Tolerance is on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot. There's no such thing as a vote that doesn't matter. It all matters. And after we have achieved historic turnout in 2008 and 2012, especially in the African American community, I will consider it a personal insult, an insult to my legacy, if this community lets down its guard and fails to activate itself in this election. You want to give me a good send-off? Go vote. And I'm going to be working as hard as I can these next 7 weeks to make sure folks do.
Now, callers, what I did was I played a video about President Barack Obama speaking to everyone, saying, "Go vote." And you know what's killing me is people saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm not voting. I don't like any one of them, so I'm not going to vote." If you want to be able to see the change, you have to be a part of that change. You want change? Be a part of the change, people. You got to be like these brothers and sisters on the phone saying, we got to put people in a position of power to make change for us. We also have to keep the money within the black community. We like he said, we're America's largest consumers. We spend money every single place but our own. We don't support each other. That's the things we got to do. And it's so amazing because I was reading an article over the summertime about how this Hasidic Jewish community, a Hasidic Jewish gentleman, is buying up Harlem. Harlem needs to take back Harlem and buy back Harlem. And I blame Al Sharpton. I blame black churches. I blame Ray Nagel, whatever his name is. I blame them because when those brownstones were being sold for dirt cheap in the 1990s, there was the opportunity for Harlem to buy back Harlem. Does Harlem and downtown Brooklyn and the South Bronx starting to look great? It does. But those people in those communities have no vested interest in the communities. So it's doing, like you said, it's going back to that same old, that slave mentality where we have no vested interest in our own. And that's the problem. So a black American needs to take back black America.
Black America also needs to stop thinking about trying to look fly. Black America needs to stop thinking about, I need to have the hottest fits. The other day when we did a boycott, I had someone comment about, oh, so this means I can't go buy my Gucci bag? Like, really? Like, we're trying to move together as a people and boycott certain things, and you talking about, oh, this means like I can't buy a Gucci bag? Like, that's superficial thinking that black people have, or just our generation. And I'm not just going to put on black people, our generation, but who you see on Instagram mostly with this superficial attitude, this superficial type of thinking. Black people, because they feel like if they have it, they made it. My thing is, you need to step back, hold your money, so that one day we can have a brand like Gucci that we can pour our money into if that's what you really want, so that we can support the designers that are up and coming that can't get to that level. You put your money into them because they got dope stuff too, but you want to put your money into somebody that doesn't care about you, that will actually say, I'm not for them. I don't want that person wearing my clothes. You think I can walk into a store and buy a Tommy Hilfiger shirt? Never in my life, because I know what he said. I don't care if he's over it or pretends to be over it, but my thing is, if you already have that in your heart, I'm not giving you my money. I can't walk into a store and see a Ivanka Trump dress and I don't care if she's not a certain way. I know how daddy is, so something must have rubbed off. But I will not support anything called Trump. As a black person, I just can't do it. But some people don't think like that. They just wanna be fly. They just wanna be, do what they wanna do so they can keep up with the Joneses. And that's what we need to stop. We need to stop thinking what everybody thinks is okay. Build up your brand. Build up the black brand so that we can have that black brand that is a Gucci, that is a Fendi, that is a Chanel, that is so you can look fly in a black-owned brand. But stop trying to pretend like, and then you live in the projects and you buying $1,000 bags. Why? That's the mentality of our people.
That's the television system. That's the television. That's the media. That's programming.
Exactly, but my thing is that you also have white people. Because see, here's the difference, right? You have white people who don't have that. My thing is they have more money than you, and they won't even go buy that because black people aren't educated and it's because of our education system too.
Again, it's the design.
Not children, because we don't have anyone who is there to say, listen, because as long as we continue to sit by and watch it happen and no one stands up, we can protest, that's great. We protest for a week and it's gone. The next week, everybody's gone. It's all back to social media. We watch TV. You have people, okay, this happened today, but you still have people talking about the football game that happened on Saturday. Black people talking about football games that happen on Saturday when you got black people being killed in the street. See, people are true about themselves. That's the thing. If we don't if I don't say to my neighbor, yo, you need to chill on that, or my neighbor don't say to their friend, you know what I'm saying? So we steadily watch our friends do things that don't make no sense. We steadily sit back and say, oh, but dude, that's not cool right now. Chill on that, and let's come together and work on this. We don't check each other. And we just watch each other do the stuff that we do. If we don't check each other, it's not gonna work.
I just wanted to chime in just real quick. And today's hip-hop music is not helping the situation. It is glorifying a lot of crap that should not be glorified. And these kids are being poisoned. White kids, too. The whole younger generation is being poisoned by all the messages, the degrading language to females, the guns, all the violence. It's horrible. And I grew up on hip-hop. I grew up when it first started in the late 70s and all through the 80s. And in the 90s, it started to change. And even in the 90s, it's the golden era. It's great music and everything. But today, if you listen, it's horrible. It's horrible. And I'm at the point now I can't even listen to it anymore. But I'm telling you, the music is really not helping.
I have a question for everyone here who's black. And it's simply this, and I thought about this for a while. Why are we not the most educated group of people in this country? For the simple fact that it was illegal for us to get an education.
That's
so
right.
That means they didn't want us to have it. So when it was available to us, and it has been for quite some time, why are we as a collective group not the most educated instead of the least educated?
That's a very good question. I think that it's a deep question. I think that by the time it was supposed to be given to us, we didn't want it, and by that time, we have been beat down mentally, spiritually, and physically. So, like you said before, it has been a ready process in the brain of what was going on during slavery up until now. So now the cause and effect is there.
Well, what makes there's a lot of
going back to what you were saying, Alvin, a little while ago. If you go to any civic, what's the word I'm looking for? County office. Like I grew up in Brooklyn, so downtown Brooklyn. If you went to the county clerk's office and you requested to ask what is the projection for 5 or 10 years for a particular area or developmental wise or develop wise, you can find that in every county, in every borough, in every city, in every state across the country. You can find that. In the early 90s, what happened was when they dropped the real estate values and were actually telling people who made a certain amount of money that we can add on the if you have a 2-family house, you will add on that rent that you can have to help you pay your mortgage. Well, now what if that person loses their job? Now that person is still responsible for that mortgage. Okay, so in that vein, in every county clerk's office, they have a projection of what they're trying to build. So anyone during that period of time can go down. You can go down there at any time to see what the year's projection is. And I'm in agreement with you with some of the church leaders and some other people who were in the know about these situations could have bought up those properties just like other people bought up those properties and just sat on them until they became available to be profitable, fix them up, and move on along those ways. When I grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, man, there was empty lots everywhere, abandoned buildings everywhere. Now you can't find an empty lot. You can't find an abandoned building. And if you find a building that may look like that, then guess what? That building is in some type of court proceedings that someone's going to refurbish that building. The point I'm trying to make is this: the information is available to us. We just have to know where to look for it and where we can make ourselves a step ahead of the situation. It's available out there to individuals. They have to file these things with the county clerk's office for every county. And they tell you, this is what we're looking to do. And there are people who sit down at these county clerk's office all day just to find out what these available properties and what the situation is. So it's a whole system designed to have the information available to you, have it sit in front of you in plain sight. But what we have to do, as the young lady was saying, to educate ourselves in every aspect of that. Now, everybody's education level and everybody's attentiveness to their education is not the same.
You're right.
We have different values degrees of that. So some people need to step in that vein, and when you know better, you do better.
No, I definitely, callers, I definitely want to thank you for calling. I got about 10, 11 minutes left before I conclude the calls with Tim. Are you still there, Tim?
Yes, sir. Right here.
Well, but before I let all three callers go, I'll start with young lady Mika first. Mika, before you hang up, you have anything you want to say before you hang up?
I just wanted to say, in regards to what the gentleman said about the music. Music changed in the 1990s, but that was designed for that kind of music to be pushed by the record labels. That was designed by the white record labels owners to push that type of music so that we could destroy our community. So if you research it, there was a meeting amongst all the owners that was the design. It wasn't a design. It was also designed for them to make money, but it was also destroy our communities as well.
But it's destroying.
So people with money.
It's destroying everybody now, and there's a lot of black label owners now. So they're continuously releasing the music, and they're black, and they're still doing it. So, however it started, it needs to be stopped. And you made the point of education. There's a lot of intelligent, successful black people out there, women and men, and they need to get this information and start educating these younger black kids on how to better themselves and how to become successful like they have. You can't just keep blaming it on where it started. I understand you need to know how it started, but you have to take the stand, you have to educate, and you have to make the change. No one's going to do it. Like you said, the Jewish people did it for themselves. Black people need to do that. They need to take the stand. They need to dedicate themselves. These educated, successful black businessmen, women, businessmen, churches, they need to go out of their way and do it because they need to change. And it needs to be done. And that's the only way it's going to get done.
Gary, before you hang up, any last words?
No, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm glad you switched the topic. I'll be trying to call in a little more often. And appreciate what you do, brother. Keep it going.
Listen, don't hang up yet. Tim, anything before you go?
Yes. First, I'd like to say thank you for providing this platform. And I agree that black people have to do it for themselves. And I would like to just put this last bit out there. Those of us that know and have solutions need to help those of us who are looking for plans and solutions. We can do this. We have all the pieces we need. We have the education. We have the economic power. We just need to put those pieces together in one viable plan. It's about solutions, not just rehashing all the problems.
You know,
thanks again, brother.
I want to thank both. I want to thank all the calls who called, and me. I know Meek already hung up already, but anytime y'all want to come up here and sit down and chop it up and sit down with Alvin after dark, you're more than welcome to do so. The platform is always here for you. That's extending my my lifeline. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So thanks again for calling this evening. I'm gonna keep tuning in. I got some more stuff to discuss for the next 10 minutes. So thanks again for calling, and gentlemen, definitely travel safe.
Oh, no doubt. Travel safe, my brother. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
I definitely thank the calls once again for calling in, and I know it was just it's more than just police officers killing unarmed black citizens. It's a problem that goes further back than we can even anticipate. But what I had so much to talk about, but the callers called it, which is great. And I love when callers call because I love to tune in. But everyone who's tuning in and when you're watching, there's not one topic I do not research before I come on air, and I make sure I research the topic and I look into it before I sit here and give any information out to you. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in and listening to this sensitive and serious topic. But before we go with the next 5 minutes or so, I want to read you some names. Now, these are the names and their stories. All right. Keith Childress in 12 on December 31st, 2015, from Las Vegas. Marshals were conducting a surveillance on a man and requested him help from him. From Metro, he fled. When the police caught up with him, they claim he had an unknown object in his hand. Assuming it was a gun, they shot him dead. The officers were not charged with the crime for killing Keith. December 25th, 2015, Chicago, Illinois. Police shot Betty Jones in the neck accidentally while trying to help a neighbor deal with a domestic disturbance involving his son, Quintino Legere. The neighbor said he called the police when his son tried to break the door down early in the morning, and Jones was shot when she opened the door to direct officers when they arrived. No officers was charged with the crime for killing Betty. December 23rd, 2015, Dearborn, Michigan. An officer pursued Matthews, who reportedly wanted on a misdemeanor warrant, authorities said. The officer attempted to subdue Matthews with pepper spray and shot him during the struggle. When Matthews reached for his gun, police said family members identified Matthews after shooting and said he was being treated for schizophrenia. No officer was charged. Leroy Browning, December 20, 2015. Palmdale, California. Deputies saying Browning, 30 years old, fled when they were attempting to arrest him. Deputies put him in a bear hug and reached a firearm before being shot by deputies. No officer had been charged or killed. No officer was charged for the crime for killing Leroy. Roy Nelson, December 19, 2015, Hayward, California. Police responded to a report of a man needing an emergency mental health evaluation. After arriving, officers determined Roy needed an involuntary psychiatric hold to put him in the back of the police car. On the way to the hospital, police say Roy tried to kick out the car's rear window. The police forced Roy into a leg restraint, which Roy died later on. No officer had been charged with the crime. Miguel Espinal, Yonkers, New York. This was December 8th, 2015. Miguel Espinal, 36, was shot and killed by NYPD officers in an incident that started with a traffic stop in the Bronx. Espinal fled, prompting the police chase, and ended in a wrong-way crash. After the crash, Espinal left the vehicle and ran into the surrounding Tibbetsbrook Park, where police killed him. Espinal family said he ran from officers because he doesn't have a license. No officers were charged. I have in front of me, it's 103. I think it's 103. 105. 105 names and stories. And every single one of them, no officer have been charged with a crime for killing Jonathan. No officer have been charged with a crime for killing Victor. No officer have been charged with the crime of killing Kevin. No officer has been charged with the crime of killing Felix. No officer has been charged with the crime of killing James. No officer has been charged with the crime of killing Tyree. No officer has been charged with the crime of killing Christian. No officer has been charged with the crime of killing Ashams. No officer has been charged with the crime of killing Troy. No officer has been charged with the crime of killing Wendell. No officer has been charged with the crime of killing Salvado. Trooper Brian Encina was charged with perjury for lying about the events leading up to Sandra's Bland's arrest. That was it. It goes on and on and on and on and on. So, where do we stand? You know, you probably can't see this, but it goes on and on and on. And I know the conversation was, went, you know, it didn't go left field. We spoke about the cause and effects and what we can do to be better as a group of people and what we can do to alleviate some of the problems. But the reality part of it is, and LA said it earlier, and we all can agree, that these officers need to be trained. They need to be trained. So if anyone out there listening, we need to take a stand immediately. And these officers nationwide need to know how to properly conduct themselves when handling unarmed black Americans. That's what it seems like.
And there should be some sort of discipline. I mean, you know, when you screw up at a job, you get fired.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but if you're a police officer and you screw up and you kill someone, you get paid, you know, office duty, or you get transferred, and you know, like,
and swept under the rug.
That's obviously a problem in the police department themselves.
That's right.
So something's got to be done, because you know, it's one thing making a mistake and costing $100 or breaking something, but when you kill someone and take away their lives, there's got to be something has to be done. You can't just say, oh, you know, you screwed up, or you know, here, you know, go work at the desk for now on, you know, or nothing at all. Something has to be done.
You're right. And, you know, I know I read on social media, some of my friends who are police officers say, well, you don't know what happened. And frankly, I'm sick and tired of police officers saying that. And some of you who are my friends, we're still friends, but you know, we have different opinions. And and believe me, I understand your side of it, because I am in the military and I have been in that position where I've been an armed authority figure at gate guard or doing different things. So I understand it. All I'm saying is that just like we train in the military, these police officers need to be trained to effectively handle the citizens of the United States of America. You know, for all the callers who called in, I want to thank you for calling and hanging out with me on Alvin After Dark this evening. Gary, Tim, and Mika, keep tuning in every Tuesday night on Alvin After Dark. Hey, LA, any words of encouragement before we leave?
Oh man, I don't know. All I can say, it was definitely a deep discussion, and it was, you know, intelligent people talking about it, and we all want an answer. White, black, we don't want this anymore. You know,
right.
There's got to be a change. Believe me, I hate to see this too. You know, this is horrible, and I don't know what needs to be done, but we have to, everything within the police department has to be done, within the black community things have to be done, but it needs to start. Things need to start being done now.
That's right.
Because they don't happen immediately, and everything takes time, but we have to start.
That's right.
Right now.
Yes, so I would definitely leave y'all with this one. Like they just said, it needs to happen right now, like today. And once again, people, and I always tell you this. Listen, I will say this. You never know when. You just don't know when people want to come home, no matter who you are, whether you are a suspect or supposedly a suspect or you're the police officer. Everyone's at the end result is to get home safe and sound. So I wish everyone to get home safe and sound. Hug your loved ones, kiss them, tell them you love them, and remember the good Lord don't put you through nothing you can't handle. It's all how you handle it. And to the family of the gentleman that was killed, I know his twin sister spoke out. Our prayers and thoughts are definitely with you, and I hope that justice is definitely served. So once again, you're going to catch us next week on Alvin After Dark, and have a good evening, and peace out.